Now, y'all know me. I love a good caveman riff to push me in the gym. But there's also another side of me. I also like reading books and reflecting on how natural phenomena are analogous to my personal observations. In other words, I'm a giant nerd. Well, the band I'm going to talk about today scratches both of those itches. Dawn of Ouroboros, their content is very much about reflecting on natural phenomena, but they do this over chuggy riffs, while at the same time adding dense atmospheric layers. Just take a listen to this song, Slipping Burgundy, which starts out as a jazzy lounge singer arrangement. But then it morphs into this complex and furious crescendo. And you just know from listening to music like this that the artists are thoughtful and meticulous. I've actually met them before because I was one of the concert photographers on the Fallujah Flesh Prevails tour, and Dawn of Ouroboros was opening on that tour, and they were very kind to me. But I didn't know then that Tony is a molecular biologist, and Chelsea also works in the tech industry. Well, I got to speak to them again recently, and now, after that conversation, that depth and those clever arrangements make a lot of sense to me. I'm going to share that conversation with you, and you let me know, do you come away with the same conclusion? Chelsea and Tony from Dawn of Ouroboros, welcome to Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm very excited to have y'all. So you're on this list of bands that I have that I became a fan of when I seen you opening for somebody else. You know, I saw Gojira opening for Metallica back in the day, like early 2000s. You know, I saw Zeal and Ardor open up for Opeth, and I saw you guys open up for Fallujah, and I was like, wow, this band is really cool. And now you've got a new album coming out, Bioluminescence.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you got to see us. That Fallujah tour was super beneficial to, getting more spread out and acquainted with different groups of people that we wouldn't normally have gotten exposure to. So we're really thankful to have gone out and done that. And yeah, we're really excited for this release. And I feel like everybody, when you're releasing albums, you strive to feel like it's the best work you've ever put out, right? So obviously that's kind of where we're at with this. We feel like it's the best work we've done yet, which I feel like if you're not doing that, maybe you're doing something wrong. But yeah, we're on March 7th is our official release date for the full album. We have released 2 singles off of that album so far. Slipping Burgundy was just released like 3 days ago. What was that?
On Thursday.
On Thursday this week, so the 13th, and it's doing really well. We've been quite surprised at how well it's been received so far. So very thankful for the opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about Slipping Burgundy because the video is really cool. But first, let me just say, y'all fit in so well with Fallujah on that tour because they've got what I call a very wet sound.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have a very wet sound. Now, obviously, it's very different. They're tech death, and you have more of a blackened post sort of sound, but it's wet. And I see that this record is bioluminescence, obviously, and is inspired by the ocean. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I moved to Washington, I actually took a kayaking trip over bioluminescent waters at night. And I think that was a really important experience for me. This is something I always wanted to do. I had signed up to do things like that so many times and it just kept falling through. So finally making that happen was part of the journey in this album. The whole album concept isn't like, not every song is based off of bioluminescence, but we felt that was a strong track on our album. And when we were coming up with the album name, we couldn't think of anything better. Like it just made the most sense for us to follow that theme and have the artwork and the layout kind of follow the overall vibe of bioluminescence.
And the ocean has always kind of been a theme for us as a band across all of our albums. But I think this one is the one where we've, it's been the most obvious that like how much we actually like it.
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a song about Poseidon on the record.
Yeah.
Speaking of themes, the last record was Velvet Incandescence. And so this record is bioluminescence. Is light also a big theme?
Yes, very much so. When I'm listening to music, something that comes to my mind and inspires me a lot is the concept of color and light and just light refraction in general. So I think that I somehow always fall in this pattern of kind of focusing on color and light when I'm writing.
Did y'all have much say in how the music videos for the two singles were shot?
Oh yeah, that was 100%.
Because the light on those videos is very distinct. The bioluminescence video, you have the bluish green light, and it sort of washes out every scene. And then the slipping burgundy, it starts out in a lounge, which I want to get to that in a minute, but then it goes red, like blood red, and that washes out every scene. So the light seemed very important for the two videos.
Yeah.
For our videos, we always we have like full creative control. It's always our ideas. We make a lot of the stages and props in all the videos that we've done. And we're lucky enough to work with videographers who, honestly, they're happy to have that. Like they don't have to, they could just film and focus on the technical aspect of everything, which, they prefer doing that when they work with bands and stuff in our experience.
Yeah. It makes their job a little easier not to have to be a creative director on top of all the technical pieces of being a videographer.
So do y'all get excited about making videos? Is that like another artistic outlet for you?
Yeah, very much so. We put a lot of effort in. We source items for months. Like it's a whole adventure that we go out on together. So Tony and I are the main people that do the set design and concepts and stuff like that. So we just team up and get it done.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to skip ahead to one of my questions. Speaking of sourcing everything for the videos. So one of the main things I wanted to ask you when I saw the Slipping Burgundy videos, like starts out lounge singer, very nice. And then the blood red happens when the heavy part. And then there's all these really eerie sort of scenes. You've got the candles that are like figures of people that are burning. And then you've got like the hands that are holding some sort of, vessel with the red liquid in it. And then there's a scene with this cute little dog that comes in. I'm like, what's the dog? Is that your dog?
No, it's our videographer, Carl. It was his dog. And we were working on it so late at night that we called it our B-roll. And we were like filming at his house late at night. And his little dog kept running out to say hello. And we thought it'd be funny to put the dog in there. And it looks so cute. And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Thomas from Die Catafalque, and I was talking about his album cover because it's like in a field, or maybe it's in a subway. I can't remember which one, but it's him by himself. It's sort of black and white, and he's got this stern look on his face. And then there's like a dog running out, and he's like, it was just a complete accident. Like we were taking the shot, and then the dog just ran in, and I loved it.
It's a similar thing. Yeah, the dog just kept coming into the room where we were filming, and then it's like, hey, this would be cool. Let's put her in the little stage that we had made.
Yeah, that was awesome. And use what's going on. That's pretty cool. All right, well, let me get back into the order here. So, Tony, I got here that you're a molecular biologist.
Yes. Yeah, I have a degree in molecular biology, a minor in chemistry, and I've been working in like research biotech for about 10 years now.
Okay, so that's not where the ocean stuff comes from then.
No, I mean, we grew up in Bay Area in California, so going to the ocean
was a big part of
was a big part of
our lives,
just lives growing up and stuff.
And I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't work in that field, but I imagine your work life must be sort of rigid, you because you have to control all the variables.
Yeah.
So there must be a lot of procedure, and care that goes into it. And then when I listen to your music, both the last record and this record, there's so many layers to the guitars, the bass, the keys. So I'm wondering if you also have a similar approach, okay, this is the chord structure, this is the key I'm in, these are the instruments I'm using. Let's go in and lay them down like this, very meticulous. Let me try this sort of thing. Maybe that experiment didn't work. Let me try this other sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it there. That is pretty much my approach. I mean, a lot of how I write is done, just through jamming. Like, I don't go in and I'm not writing songs in sheet music or Guitar Pro or anything like that. I'm playing guitar, but yeah, it is a very experimental process where I just kind of play guitar until I'm hearing something that I like, and have that recorded, and then work with synth layers and just try different synths, mash things together, add different chord variations, and just until sort of create a wall of sound that I find very appealing. And then, since I'm always recording everything, and then, maybe I'll move parts around and see how well they work together. Like, oh, what if I put this here? Or if I put that, earlier in the song, how would that work? So yeah, a very experimental approach, I guess.
I figured it had to be either one or the other thing. My day job background is in engineering. So, it's also somewhat mathematical, and so some of the people I work with, their outside expressions are either very much that, or because of their day life, it's like, I want to get as far away from that as possible. And then they just improv everything, but there's so much going on with Dawn of Ouroboros. It seems to me like you must have to plan it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like with my guitar solos, they are written by improvisation, but I re-record them when we get to the final stage. But when I compose them, I just loop a section and then improvise on guitar several times, and then kind of compile together 10 or so takes of improv. And
that's the David Gilmour approach.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yes, so I use the David Gilmour approach to writing my guitar solos.
My favorite guitar player. That's why his solos all sound so cool. So you do in molecular biology. Dawn of Ouroboros has this oceanic theme, this light theme. You're also in another band called Botanist. So yes. Is this like is nature like a central thing going on in your mind?
I guess so. Grew up.
Yeah, I thought about it in that way before, huh?
Yeah, I mean, lived in an area where redwood forests are very common, so that was a lot of my upbringing going to those. Or a very nice area close to the Bay Area would be Lake Tahoe. So everybody from that area, that's kind of like the easy to get to vacation spot that anybody can go to. It's a 3-hour drive. So lots of forest and lakes and stuff. Botanist is a band I joined back in 2019. So they kind of already had their theme established, but the founder of that band, he's also from our same area. So, he grew up in the same environment. But yeah, I mean, that's also a band that I'm very proud to be a part of, even if, my function is to be the bass player in there.
Speaking of the bass players, is it Ian?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I saw you guys, he was playing guitar.
Yes, he was.
So I guess he moves the guitar live, and then y'all bring somebody on to play bass live.
So how we had it was he was originally the rhythm guitarist for Dawn of Ouroboros, but his instrument of choice is bass. But we already had a bass player when we brought Ian in, so he's agreed to do rhythm guitar. Essentially, is how it worked out. Eventually, our bass player decided to pursue his other career like more seriously, and as a default, like with Dawn of Ouroboros kind of doing more touring, he just could not swing it. And he was like, I think it's best if I step out. We still love him, still a really good friend of ours. And we asked Ian at that time, since bass is your preferred instrument, would you prefer to be the person to move over to that? And he was like, heck yeah. Like he was super excited. So now we just have a floating rhythm guitarist. So we bring on session people for touring instead of adding like a permanent member.
Yeah. So he played stand-up bass on Slipping Burgundy. I'm curious, are y'all going to bring a stand-up bass live, or are you just going to try to mimic it on the electric bass?
I think it's going to be done on the electric bass live.
Yeah, it's really hard with the instrument that big to fit it with touring.
For only 2 minutes for the entire set.
Yeah.
It'd be impractical, but you never know for the future.
Maybe if there's like a special one-off performance at some point where we do that. But I'd love to. I think it's such a vibe having him play it. So it's just logistics.
And I really want to thank y'all, because the opening track, the title track, Bioluminescence, it just gets right into it. There's no like orchestral or synth intro for a minute and a half before the record starts, and you guys are a band that could actually, kind of get away with that because your sound is big and has synths and everything. But even the last record, it didn't start on that heavy riff, but it started with your vocals right away, just getting into the music right away. It's a pet peeve of mine. all these like death metal records with like orchestral intros, and I'm like, y'all don't even use strings the rest of the record. Like, this is just an immediate skip. But starting this record is like, boom, oh, okay, we're rocking.
Yeah, we felt that it was really important to have the title track be the first one on the album this time around. And we think Bioluminescence as a whole, like that track, is a really good representation of the vast array of what we do as a band. So that's another reason why we chose it to be like our number one single.
Yeah, it kicks off right away, but then it goes after a few bars into the more elegant part. So it's a great, like, it's a great way to say, this is what to expect from this record. You're going to get a lot of crushing, but also some elegance and some beauty.
Absolutely. We really strive to bring the whole like beauty and terror or like an ever collide.
Harsh beauty.
Yeah, harsh beauty. How about that?
And it's perfect because like that's the ocean. The ocean is terrifying and also beautiful.
Yeah.
There's like a, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that like I really like find peace from just being around the ocean for that reason, because it's so chaotic but gorgeous at the same time, and I just feel like it emulates a lot of like what happens internally for people. So yeah.
There's a phobia about the ocean. I can't remember what the name of it is. When I edit this, I'll flash it across the screen.
Thalassophobia.
There's a phobia that comes from being completely surrounded by water. Thankfully, I don't have that phobia, but I do when I get near the ocean, especially on a boat, and it's just water as far as the eye can see. The existentialism starts to creep in, and the smallness that I feel is like, wow, it goes on forever.
I've swam in like deep ocean, like out getting off a boat and then swimming around in deep water. And you go down a little bit and every direction looks the same. It's very disorienting.
Yeah. This record, I read, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that y'all pretty much started working on it before the last record had even released.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just continue working. Like, we don't stop. We're always working on music. The only time we're not working on it is when we're touring.
That's impressive because it's both records are Dawn of Ouroboros. They sound like y'all, but there is a distinction. And when you turn it around that quick, that's pretty impressive. Like you had the elegant soft parts and the crushing parts on the last one, but this one is a little more jazzy, a little more lounge singer. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like on this one there's more major scale used. Like the last one was more minor, spacey, like, and this one has more soaring passages.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be true both melodically and harmonically. I really have grown to love major chords over the years. I think you could do a lot with them, and even using extended major chords. I think it's an area that isn't well explored in metal until more recent years anyway. And I just think it really adds a whole unique element to when combined with the traditional sounds of metal music.
Do you find it more challenging to write riffs that way? Because you play around in the major scales, like, man, this is really happy.
I guess when I'm doing, I'm not really thinking about it being happy. It more gives it a like a modern feel is the best way I can think about it. Is, at least the way I'm thinking when I listen to, what we're doing. Not like this is joyful, but it has like it's just like a modern kind of, I don't want to say futuristic, but I'm lost for words on that.
Yeah. I would not call this record happy sounding.
No.
I'm just saying when I play in the major scale, oftentimes that can sound happy. And so when I stumble across something that fits a different mood, I'm like, okay, here we go. But to me, that's rather challenging.
Yeah, I think it depends on if you're familiar with the modes within the major scale. As far as the major modes that I'm using, I would be focusing on chords that would be found more in the Lydian mode, which I think has a slightly different feel than, say, just the straight up Ionian mode or the major scale, as I think it has a diminished fifth within the scale.
Yeah, it's very grand, and triumphant might be a little bit of hyperbole, but that's the word that's sort of at the front of mind right now, because there are very reflective moments on the record, but that major scale gives it a lot of lift.
Yeah.
Was that conscious? Because you just got done recording the last record and you go, okay, we're going to start working on the next record. This is a way we could differentiate. Or is it just that was the mood you were in?
I guess that was just the mood I was in. I think I try to approach it without really thinking about what the end goal would be or what I want it to sound like. Just kind of let things flow naturally through experimentation. I'd say one thing that I did consciously try to work in was using different time signatures, as that is something that I hadn't really explored in the creative process up until this album. So there's more like 5/4 and 7/8 time signatures, which we really haven't explored before in the past.
Is that challenging for you to sing over the odd time signatures?
Yeah. I mean, at times it can be. I'm very much like a feelings performer when I'm writing, and it's like, oh, I need to get married to this like weird vibey feeling. So a lot of times when I'm recording, I look like totally crazy because I'm just like doing this the whole time and, trying to like just groove with it so that I can perform better. I like it though. It's a good challenge and it keeps you interested as a listener. I feel like having something more tantalizing to listen to, So
Yeah, but also done in a way where it's subtle enough that
it doesn't feel so jolting
yeah,
every time we change
there's
time signature.
still flow to it.
Yeah.
It feels natural that, someone
Oh.
can still move to the music without thinking of like, oh, they're doing uncommon
robot.
time signature or something like that. Doesn't
Yeah.
feel forced or put together. That's what the idea was anyway.
Yeah, I was good. I was just going to compliment you on that because, like, every 20 years or however long it takes them, every time we get a new Tool record,
Yeah.
like the first time you hear those songs, you can't really bob your head to it until you learn where the spots are because of those weird times that they use. But I didn't have that problem at all with this record. I just immediately head is moving, which is my ultimate judge of music that I like, is does it make my head move? And it doesn't matter the genre either. Hip hop, it'll move a different way. Obviously, metal makes me headbang, or maybe a more classical piece make me turn my head. But if my head moves voluntarily, I'm like, okay, I like this.
Love it.
So
thank you.
You talked about feeling when you perform. I read that you mostly improvise your vocal cadence and melodies in the studio. Is that a direct response to how built the music is, or is that just, hey, you get what you get with me?
I think that I write my best when I'm doing improv. I oftentimes find when I pre-write things to a T that I end up wanting to change everything in studio anyways. And it just doesn't come out as, like, I'm not as proud of my work when I don't improv. It's just a different sort of approach that allows me ultimate freedom that, a lot of other aspects of life doesn't give me. I work in the tech industry, and it's like, there's not always that leeway to have that freedom, and it's definitely something I thrive in. So I think it's really important to me as an artist and having my own band with Tony that I'm able to do that. And I just think it brings a whole new perspective.
Is it the same thing as with Tony and his solos? Just like, let's do like several runs and keep all the best takes?
Yeah, there's some where it's, I don't end up changing anything. And there's some where it's, I like the A-B on these, 1 and 3 track. And so I'll like marry those together, and then I'll retrack it where I feel more confident that, like I listen to it and I go, oh yeah, I really like that. Let me add some more inflection here though. And then I'll retrack it. So kind of very similar. Yeah.
So when you take it out on the road, do you listen to the record a lot and sort of get, okay, this is what I did? Or is it all improv on the road as well?
Oh, no, I try my best to emulate what I did on the record, just because I feel like as a fan, if I were to go see a band and it was like really different than what they did on the record, I might feel disappointed. So not that there's anything wrong with somebody that does improv on stage. It's nice sometimes, but if it doesn't at least strongly resemble the record, I feel like it could be disappointing. So I do drilling before I go on tour. I'm late at night in the studio just working by myself, drilling on stuff. So yeah.
Right on. Well, speaking of tour, you have tour plans once the record releases?
Yeah, we're actually going to kick off a tour just on the West Coast for our album release. Yeah. We'll have more announcements on touring soon. But for this, what we do have released right now is just our headliner run in support of this album. Super important that we get people out there because it feeds our analytics to be able to do bigger tours, like jumping on support slots like we did with Fallujah last year. So we're really driving this tour as hard as we can and hoping that a lot of people show up. So
Well, I will put all the links to your socials into the description so that when those announcements do come, everybody will be following. They'll be able to see it. Hopefully another Atlanta date. And
Yeah.
Bioluminescence, March the 7th.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait for the release.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Appreciate your time.
Hey, the episode's closing, and that means the riff of the week is about to play. While the riff of the week plays, why don't you mosey on down to the description below, and there you will find a link to the merch shop where you can get sweet swag like this. But you need to do it soon because it will only be available till the end of the summer. So check it out, JonBarbas-shop.fourthwall.com. Links in the description. Now let's do the riff of the week.